In this topic, we're going to talk about consecutive integers, solving equations with consecutive integers. First off, let's talk about what is a consecutive integer. So if we are here starting at the number 1, the next consecutive integer would be 2, followed by 3, followed by 4. So if you have a question where it's the sum of two consecutive integers, the first one would be 1 and 2. Hypothetically, if we don't know what 1 is, and let's say this is x, well, how do we get from 1 to 2? Well, in this case, in order for us to get from 1 to 2, we just add 1 to get from 1 to 2. So my next consecutive integer here would be x plus 1. The following, or the next consecutive integer, would be x plus 2, always initiating from my original x here. Now, it doesn't matter what value x is. X could be any value in this case. X could be -2 for all we know. Until we find it out, it's still going to be x plus 1, x plus 2 for consecutive integers. Another terminology we may see here is consecutive odd integers or consecutive even integers. If we take a look at, again, if we have 0 or 1, or it doesn't matter what the x is, if we're starting at 1, the next consecutive odd integer would be not 2, but next consecutive odd integer would be 3. So how do we get from 1 to 3? So if x is 1, hypothetically, in order for me to get to 3, I would have to do x and x plus 2 in order to get from 1 to 3. If I want to get from 1 to 3 to 5, then this would be x plus 4, because I need to travel 1, 2, 3, 4 units to get to my next consecutive odd or even integer. Okay, so these are the terms we're going to hear: consecutive integer, consecutive even integer, or consecutive odd integers. Alright, so let's take a look at some examples and see how this comes into play. So the sum of two consecutive integers is 43. So again, we're talking about two different numbers here, number 1 and number 2. Consecutive integer. So if my first integer is x, the next consecutive integer would be x plus 1. Okay, so hypothetically, if x was 5, the next integer would be 5 plus 1, which is equal to 6. Okay, so now we have our two consecutive integers, x and x plus 1. This is the sum of two consecutive integers, so x plus 1 is 43. So combine like terms, x plus x, 2x plus 1 equals 43. And now we have our simple two-step equation, minus 1 on both sides. 2x equals 42, divide both sides by 2, x equals 21. So my two integers are going to be 21 and 22. And if you notice, they are both consecutive integers, one right after the other. Let's take a look at another example. The sum of three consecutive even integers. So in this case, we have three numbers, 1, 2, and 3. Now this is consecutive even integers. Now be careful, okay? Anytime you see the words even or odd, we're on the number line, we're jumping 2 units. So if we're at 0, to get to my next even, I have to go 1, 2. So x plus 2. To get to my third even integers, I have to go 1, 2, 3, 4 on my number line to get to my next even integer. So this would be x plus 4. So my three consecutive even integers, x plus 2, x plus 4. And whether it's even or odd, still works out the same way. X plus 1, x plus 2, and x plus 4. So we have three consecutive even integers. The sum of these integers, so x plus 2 plus x plus 4 equals -24. So this is my first number, my second, and my third consecutive even integer. So let's add up all the x's. X plus x plus x. We get 3x plus 2 plus 4. We get 6, combine like terms, equals -24. And then down to our two-step equation, 3x equals -30. Divide both sides by 3. X equals -10. Okay, so that was the sum of three consecutive even integers. And whether it's even or odd, again, same thing. If it's 4 consecutive, the next one would be x plus 6, and so on. Let's take a look at our next example. The sum of two consecutive integers is -39, so that's the same as the first one. Let's take the next one, the sum of 3 consecutive even integers. So again, even or odd, same concept. The sum of 4 consecutive odd integers, sum of 2 consecutive even integers. Okay, let's bring it up a notch. 4 times the smaller of 2 consecutive even integers is 24 more than 3 times the greater. Alright, sounds like a mouthful, but how many numbers are we talking about? We're still only talking about 2 consecutive even integers. So we have one number, our second number, they are even, so it's going to be x and x plus 2. Okay, so it says 4 times the smaller. Should be an ER there. It's 4 times the smaller. Which one of these is the smaller or larger? The x is my smaller, the x plus 2 is my larger, so 4 times the smaller of 2 consecutive even integers is, I'm going to stop there, so 4 times the smaller, so 4 times x is 24 more, so I'm adding 24 to something, 24 more than what? 24 more than 3 times the greater, so 3 times the greater integer. And now we have our equation. Let's distribute through, combine like terms, and solve for x. So we got 4x equals 3x plus 6 plus 24. So I got 4x equals 3x plus 30, just combining like terms. Subtract 3x from both sides. And we see here that x equals 30. So my two numbers are 30 and then 30 plus 2 and get 32. So x equals 30, x equals 32. Let's take a look at another example like that one. The sum of odd integers and twice the next larger odd integer is 2 less than 3 times the larger integer. Alright, so some of these problems sound like a mouthful, but again, first figure out how many numbers are we talking about. The sum of an odd integer and twice the next larger odd integer. So there's only 2 numbers here that I'm talking about. 1 and 2. So the sum of an odd integer. So we're talking about odd integers. So my first number is going to be x. The next one is going to be x plus 2. Again, even or odd, it both works the same way because you always have to jump 2 spaces on the number line to get to the next odd integer. So if I'm at 1, I have to go 1, 2 spaces to get to my next odd integer. So the sum of an odd integer and twice the next larger odd integer is 2 less than 3 times the larger. So I'm going to stop here at the word is. The sum of an odd integer and twice the next larger. So the sum of, so I'm adding 2 things. The sum of x and twice the next larger odd integer is, and there's my pause, 2 less, so I'm taking 2 from something. 2 less than what? 3 times the larger. So 3 times the x plus 2. So the sum of, so I'm adding 2 things. What am I adding? The odd integer and twice the next larger odd integer. There's my twice, the next larger, and x plus 2 is the next larger odd integer. Is, there's my equal sign. 2 less, so I'm subtracting 2 from something. What am I subtracting 2 from? 2 less than 3 times the larger. 3 times, this is my larger, so 3 times the larger. Now we have our equation. Let's distribute, combine like terms. So we have x plus 2x plus 4, again, I'm just distributing the 2, equals 3x plus 6 minus 2. I'm going to combine like terms on both sides, so I have 3x plus 4 equals, and then this side, 3x plus 4. Alright, so now we have a special case here. We have both sides equal to one another, so no matter what value I plug in for x, both sides will always equal one another, so in this case, all real numbers will be your solution. Or you could denote it with all real numbers. And let's take a look at one more. 4 consecutive integers such that twice the sum of the middle 2 integers is 5 more than 3 times the larger. Another mouthful. So we got 4 consecutive integers. Let's start there. So we got 1, 2, 3, and 4 integers consecutive. Okay, they're not consecutive odd, not consecutive even, just consecutive. So x, x plus 1, x plus 2, and x plus 3. These are my consecutive integers. Such that twice, so I'm multiplying something by 2, twice the sum of the middle 2 integers. So twice the sum of, so I'm adding two things. What am I adding? Twice the sum of the middle two integers. Well, here's my middle two. So twice the sum of x plus 1 and x plus 2. Twice the sum of the middle two integers is, there's my equal sign, 5 more. So I'm adding 5 to something. 5 more than 3 times the largest. So 3 times the, which one's my largest? This happens to be my largest here. 3 times x plus 3. So again, one more time. 4 consecutive integers, 1, 2, 3, 4. X plus 1, x plus 2, x plus 3. Such that twice the sum, so it's multiplying the sum of something by 2. What is the sum of what? The middle two integers. Well, these are my middle two. Twice the sum of the middle two, so x plus 1 plus x plus 2 is equals 5 more, there's my plus 5 in the back, 5 more than 3 times the larger. So 3 times the largest quantity happens to be x plus 3. Alright, so let's combine like terms. We have 2 times 2x plus 3. Just combining like terms in my parentheses. Distributing the 3 to both of these. 3x plus 9 plus 5. Alright, I'm going to distribute. Combine like terms. So I got 4x plus 6 equals 3x plus 14. I'm going to subtract 3x from one side. And I'm going to double up on this one, and I'm going to subtract 6 from the other side as well. This way my variable is on one side, constants on the other, so I get x, my 6's go away, equals, and 14 minus 6, and I should get an answer of 8. So my 4 numbers should be 8, 9, 10, and 11, and I'm just plugging in to each one of these.